Tonight, wet. Record rainfall gives Port Augusta an above-average drenching during April. And stories of war lit up for all of Port Pirie to see.
This is Southern Cross News with Tim Hatfield.
Good evening, but first tonight, Arrium's new wash plants are close to completion with work being finalised on the Iron Knob and Iron Barron sites. The company says the upgrades will help improve the bottom line by getting more product from the ore.
There's been a big change at Iron Knob since November, with Arrium's new wash plants starting to come together. Wash plants are also starting to take shape at Iron Barron, with the company enthusiastic about the progress.
Construction's near completion at Iron Knob. We anticipate commissioning there in the next couple of months, while at Iron Barron construction's also commenced, with civil works there well underway.
The plants help convert low-grade iron ore into a product that can be shipped to customers. In a time of increased price volatility, there is a greater need to get more out of every tonnage mined. Mr. Reid says it'll make a big difference to the bottom line.
They allow us to process more low-grade material. That improves the quality of our product and it extends the life of our export business.
12 Whyalla companies have taken part in the project, injecting $25 million into the local economy.
Really outstanding engineering capability in Whyalla, and they've been significantly impacted by our voluntary administration. They've continued to support us.
The Commonwealth Government loaned over $49 million to Arrium to ensure the project could go ahead, something our MP says made a meaningful difference to the company.
Along with the $70 million plus that we put into the renewing of the Tarcoola railway line, these are very significant contributions to the position. One Steel, if you like, or Arrium.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Port Augusta has seen its wettest April in 3 years, with the city seeing 4 times the April average, causing floods earlier this week. It's led to renewed calls for Port Augusta's drainage issues to be addressed.
Port Augusta's rain gauges were filled to the brim after a downpour on Monday, which saw flooding in problem areas around the city. Forecasters say Monday was a significant rain event, seeing rainfall 4 times the Port Augusta April average.
The records go back to 1958, so yeah, apart from 2014 when we had 114, it's definitely looking like being the second wettest April on record.
With Port Augusta clocking up 89 millimetres of rain so far this month.
It's the second wettest year we have recorded at Port Augusta, and certainly well above average.
With record rain came the usual floods on the corner of Tassie and Marriott Street and Daniel Terrace, with the SES saying it's not the first time.
It is an area that does create concern every time we do have moderate to heavy rains.
Just 2 days ago, here on the low-lying areas of Daniel Terrace, water came up across the road, getting dangerously close to some houses. While the council says it has plans in place, Mayor Sam Johnson says it won't be a cheap fix.
It's quite a very expensive network, but it's something that over time has to be upgraded, hence why council's, one, got its asset management plan updated and in place, and now secondly, coming into this budget, we're going to make sure we continue to fund that on an annual basis.
After the rain on Monday, the SES is also advising residents to clear their gutters ahead of winter.
Let me remind residents that guttering is their responsibility, not the State Emergency Service.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
The Federal Energy Minister Josh Frydenberg has come out in favour of solar thermal energy. A report in the Financial Review says on a visit to Israel, the minister said Australia could follow in the footsteps of a thermal power project in the Negev Desert, and says Port Augusta boasts similar potential. Solar thermal uses mirrors and lenses to focus sunlight into a smaller area to create power. Solar thermal has been long touted as a solution to both the state's power problems and the jobs issues facing Port Augusta. Port Lincoln Council has followed Port Augusta in receiving funding to replace security cameras along the town's foreshore as part of a Safe Communities Fund allocated by the federal government. The initiative hopes to boost community safety and prevent local crime and antisocial behaviour.
Criminals, beware, you're being monitored. Port Lincoln is about to receive some new eyes to keep watch over the city.
The upgrade will allow us to have better equipment, higher resolution, and be able to monitor the those cameras from a remote location.
The federal government kicked in $30,000 to upgrade the council's surveillance as part of a National Safer Community Fund. The technology now allowing police live access to the streets.
It can be viewed at real time at the police station, so they can sort of see if things are happening. And you know, if something does happen, then we've got the software now, particularly the cameras, that will provide much clearer information.
The council worked closely with SAPOL to identify problematic areas. Although not all agree with the Surveillance Act, it's become handy in the past.
From time to time, this sort of technology is really useful in verifying what happened and identifying the perpetrators.
Recently, Port Augusta received a grant to also upgrade security at hotspots around town. Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Police have clocked a driver travelling over 50 k's above the speed limit on the Yorke Peninsula earlier this week. Just before lunchtime on Monday, police caught the 58-year-old driving 158 in a 100 zone. The Warburton man was issued with an instant loss of licence and fined over $1,000. He'll appear in court at a later date. Well, stay with us. Still to come in tonight's local news, stories of war lit up for all of Port Pirie to see, a special end to Anzac Day. The details ahead. Welcome back. Following the traditional dawn service and marches yesterday, Port Pirie completed Anzac Day with a special and unique commemoration which only came about after the sun went down. Together with the council, Illumina told stories of those from the region who went to war.
Rugged up, umbrellas in tow, Port Pirie residents flocked to Memorial Park last night to witness some of our greatest war stories.
The council had a tri-part commemorative today with the dawn service, the civilian march, and then tonight with the commemorative projection.
Locals watched on as the Illumina group projected the stories onto the Festival Theatre building.
The aim was for families to be able to come out and enjoy the park, a bit of a commemorative moment with their children where they might not necessarily get up for the dawn service.
The projection showed stories of several servicemen who hailed from the region. Actors told the story of Leo Tyrell, who was a digger from Port Pirie in World War I.
He moved to Port Pirie to find work, the World War I, and then went on to enlist and have some, obviously one of the fallen that died at war.
The 30-minute documentary was the perfect way to finish off a very sombre Anzac Day.
Managed to unearth quite a bit more about his story and, some other war history, working with the RSLs collaboratively.
It's the second time art has been projected around Port Pirie and hopefully not the last.
I think Port Pirie's got some great architectural qualities and the community seem to be supporting what I'm doing.
Keziah Sullivan, Southern Cross News.
And one of the Royal Australian Navy's future warships could be named after Broken Hill. A formal request outlining why the Silver City would make a fitting name for a future vessel has recently been submitted with backing from the Mayor.
The quest for HMAS Broken Hill.
This is actually a program that's been spearheaded by a fellow called David Harris, and he believed that Broken Hill should be recognised, and one of the ways as Australia's first heritage city.
One of the ways to gain recognition was highlight the city's contribution to Australia's war efforts and push for a vessel in the future fleet of the Royal Australian Navy to be named after the city.
We think this has great merit, and we're happy to support David and anybody else who actually is looking at how we can make this happen.
Despite the geographical problem of being located nowhere near the sea, Broken Hill's connection to the Navy is quite close. Broken Hill is the home to the only inland sea scouts group in Australia and New Zealand. It was established 88 years ago by naval men returning from war, and it's still active today.
They started the Sea Scouts, it still exists to this day, and it has actually produced quite a few people that have gone on to join the Navy. So it has a great history. I think that connection alone should be recognised.
The request has been sent to Sea Power Centre Australia and is currently undergoing consideration. While Broken Hill's request is one of many, Mayor Turley has high hopes.
Although we know this is a long-term process, we know that already the fleet that exists or about to be built has names for them, ready for them. We did wait 10 years to be Australia's first heritage city, so we're happy to wait for that, but we'll keep the campaign going.
Patrick Roenke, Southern Cross News.
Whyalla Council says it's committed to attracting more events to the city after the local hospitality sector expressed concerns yesterday. The Mayor Lynn Brewer says next year's budget will likely have some new initiatives to help lure tourists to the region.
It's not easy being in the hospitality industry in Whyalla, and operators are letting council know. They raised concerns yesterday that the city wasn't putting on events that could attract large number of tourists, warning the sector needs more activity. Mayor Lynn Brewer says while she understands their concerns, council is working on a strategy.
We do need to build on our tourism trade through events. That's really important for the community. So yes, I can understand that they do have concerns.
And with next year's budget currently being constructed, Mayor Brewer says the position of an events coordinator will be considered, something accommodation operators were asking for. The position has been open for over 12 months, but Mayor Brewer says it'll take time to fill.
Council will carefully consider it. We have a budget meeting tonight. We will consider it at that. And we'll see where we can go in the future.
Whyalla is going through an events transition, with the Unearth Festival replacing the popular Snapper Championship this year. The Mayor says we're not alone in looking at revitalising our tourism offerings.
And other big festivals in other communities have similar issues. It's time to freshen up, see what's out there, see what we can do, and make it a great festival for next year and for the ongoing future.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
The Broken Hill Trades Hall Trust is a step closer to repairing the iconic building's roof. A significant grant through the Heritage Grants program has covered more than 50% of the repair costs so far.
Fundraising to fix the Trades Hall is going strong.
We are certainly very welcome to receive this money. There's $60,000 from the New South Wales Government.
The Trades Hall Trust has been fundraising tirelessly with support from unions and locals, but it hasn't always been easy.
We have applied for a number of grants previously, have been unsuccessful, so this time we have been successful.
The $60,000 will go towards mending patches of the hall's roof, which have been damaged for some time. However, fundraising is not done yet.
We will, of course, have to match that funding dollar for dollar. So we are busily fundraising at the moment. We haven't finished. The money from the government is not going to be enough. We require about $120,000.
Council has contributed $20,000, which the Trust has already matched. Locals are also being urged to make a contribution of their own. Patrick Roenke, Southern Cross News.
Well, stay with us when we return after the break, spreading some wellness around Port Lincoln as part of the Salt Festival. The details ahead. Welcome back. Last week, the state government committed nearly $50 million to go towards improving wastewater systems. Over a 10-year period, the funding will help to support regional councils install the infrastructure.
Community wastewater management systems have been rolling out across regional South Australia, and with this success, the government has committed to another 10-year round of funding.
It helps regional communities through councils to get a wastewater system going through into their communities, where in conjunction with the councils, whereas they don't have the sewer system like we do in some of our bigger cities.
The funding helps councils build systems in their communities which are much more environmentally friendly.
There is $47 million in that bucket of money, and that we will work with the councils who want to put one of these projects in.
And the wastewater is put to better use.
The water goes through a cleansing process, and that water is then being able to be reused on various locations.
But the initiative doesn't come cheap. Installation and ongoing maintenance costs millions of dollars.
It is pretty expensive, but there is opportunities there to work with councils to be able to try and facilitate that through payments and so forth.
The system has come under fire in Peterborough, where locals are worried about the cost, but the minister is assuring the Mid-North community the system will be beneficial in the long run.
I do understand what they're saying up there, but their current system is not meeting all the EPA requirements and the health standards, so they really need to go through and get a new one in there.
Keziah Sullivan, Southern Cross News.
Well, a giant teepee has been erected on the Port Lincoln foreshore as part of the Salt Festival. The space, which is a collaboration between Mana Wellbeing and Mentally Fit EP, is providing a hub for everyone in the region to have a chance to connect.
It's not something you would usually see driving through the streets of Port Lincoln, but that's exactly the point.
She came up with a brainwave of having a teepee on the foreshore, and I said, yes, let's do it. It'll be fun, it'll be interesting, and it'll get people talking.
The giant teepee is part of the week-long Salt Festival, helping connect locals through community programs and events.
Use this space to talk about being healthy and how we connect in conversations and song and good foods and tea ceremonies.
The initiative is another conversation helping to break down barriers, offering people a friendly space and positive ideas.
Wellness is connecting with our communities, it's about finding things to expand our mind, it's about spending some time just for ourselves.
For me, it's as simple as connecting to the moana, to the ocean.
The TP also making a makeshift bed for some eager kids and youth workers on school holidays.
We had some young people sleep down in the TP last night as well, which was really cool.
The Wellness TP will offer free events on the foreshore until Sunday, connecting with everyone in the local community.
Connecting is the most important things we can do in our community, so pop in and say hello.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Well, as we come to the end of the month, the region's fuel prices have started to rise. Here's Patrick with this week's Fuel Watch.
There is no green on either board this week. A lot of prices are seeing red. Starting with unleaded, and Port Pirie is the first spike we see. The price now $1.26. Port Augusta and Whyalla are the lucky ones who have maintained last week's price. Port Lincoln is edging closer and closer to $1.30, while here in Broken Hill we've gone up by a cent or so and sit on $1.28. But the big rise has been in Adelaide. A 22-cent change from last week sees the state capital on $1.39. Things are a little better when we take a look at diesel. Port Pirie and Whyalla are back on the board and still have cheap prices. Port Augusta sees no movement once again, and Port Lincoln has followed suit. It's not good news here in the Silver City. A 2-cent rise sees our price up to $1.32. And in Adelaide there has been relatively no movement. The price still $1.21. So that rounds out Fuel Watch for the week and for the month. Hopefully prices can start dropping again once we head into May. Just a reminder that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. If you happen to find a spot that does sell it for cheaper, let us know on our Facebook page.
Well, stay with us after the break, a check of the local weather, and then we'll take a dive with some friendly sea lions. Welcome back. Turning to the weather now, some clearing showers today, getting to 17 in Port Augusta and Port Pirie, 16 the top in Whyalla, a cloudy 17 in Port Lincoln, Broken Hill fine on 15 today. On the national satellite, a high pushing in from the Bight is set to ease back some of the wet weather we've been seeing, but the showers will linger. Out on the Gulf waters, the winds to 15 knots tomorrow and southwesterly, seas to a metre and also to the south. The sunrise tomorrow morning is at 10 minutes to 7. So a fine day for Port Augusta tomorrow, 18 the top, Whyalla on 17 with showers clearing again, a cloudy 20 in Port Lincoln and 19 for Port Pirie, 15 and overcast in Broken Hill. Then more showers on Friday and 22 in Port Lincoln, 19 the top in Cleve, Woodner fine on 20 degrees. Whyalla also with showers clearing, 19 as well for Friday and Saturday, 19 also but cloudy in Port Augusta, showers and 21 for Kadina on Friday. Port Pirie with 20 degrees as those showers linger, just 15 to wrap up the week for Clare, and overcast in Broken Hill, 17 degrees the Friday top. And that is the local news for this evening. Don't forget, as always, you can stay up to date with us on Facebook and on Twitter. I'm off tomorrow, so Ali Drower will be here, and I'll see you again next week. We'll leave you now, though, with some of the sea lions who greeted divers with Calypso Star charters near Langdon Island recently off Port Lincoln. I'm Tim Hatfield from the Southern Cross News team. Enjoy your evening. Good night.